Meanwhile, there's a free event today where seniors can learn all about the community resources that are available for them. Billy Brightman is live outside of the Galois Theater to tell us how you could get involved. Billy, good morning.
Good morning. The Senior Resource Network of the Ozarks was founded because one woman was looking for resources for her family and realized she had no idea where to start. Today's resource seminar at the Galois helps with that exact issue for any senior, family member, or caregiver who needs it. People attending the seminar will sit in the theater seats while 10 senior organizations present what services they can help with. This includes things like senior living, financial planning, estate planning, Medicare and insurance help, and other health and wellness services.
Sometimes the biggest hurdle is just knowing where to start. So it feels like due diligence with these resources, with the audience that we have and the connection we have through the Senior Resource Network of the Ozarks, to be able to give back to this audience and take that weight off their shoulders. They're able to just have somewhere to start. They may not need these resources right now, but when they do, they have a starting point and people that they can contact who care about them and want to help them.
The event starts at noon today, and seniors over 60 can stay after the hour-long event to see a free screening of the movie Tommy Boy, including some trivia. Live in Springfield, Billy Brightman, KY3 News.
Tommy Love Wingy. Billy, thank you so much.